Unit 14A, Assessment 14A.2, and these are the practical tasks. So question 1 requires that you carry out a hazard inspection of your nearest residence outdoor area and list any hazards that you can find. So look for things like tripping hazards, a hose across a path or a paver that's sticking up or a hole in the playing area. Look for overhead hazards like air conditioners sticking out, any hazard where you think a young person could get injured. And choose one of these hazards to work on for part C of question 1. So when you've got your hazard, you carry out a risk assessment for the hazard that you've selected. So you use a risk matrix and you note on there the likelihood, that's the letter, the consequence, the number, and then the risk, either low, moderate, high, or extreme. So it's where the row and the column meet. So you can see this one here. So we've picked minor for the consequence. So that's medical help needed, but treatment by a medical professional, hospital at outpatients, etc. And may occur, but only in rare and exceptional circumstances. So the risk is low. And so that's how you use the risk matrix. So look at your particular hazard and do a risk assessment on the hazard. And then you've got to work out, how do you respond? How can you control the risk right now? So most importantly, you must eliminate the hazard now. So if it was a box in a hallway or something like that that you could quite easily move yourself, so it might be a hose that you could coil up and get off the path. If you can, you eliminate the hazard now, or you minimize the risk. And so what you would try and do is you'd try and do three things. You would try to barricade this off to try and make this area safe. And you can just use chairs or anything that's available to barricade the area so that it's safe. Then you would advise students and you would advise staff. Then after that, you would report it to your maintenance. However you do that, you know, whether you do that by email or whether you have a maintenance book or whether you phone the maintenance people up. So report it to maintenance, and then we look at how do we actually control that risk. And so we go to the hierarchy of risk control, and ideally you would eliminate it. So if you're coiling up a hose and removing a hose from a pathway, then you eliminate it. And you know, if you can, that is the best way to do it. And so what you're writing down here is your suggestion to maintenance for the most effective way to manage that risk. Okay, so question number 2 is asking you to detail the steps required by your organisation after a smoke alarm goes off in the boarding residence. So this could be a fire evacuation drill, or it could be a situation where the fire alarms have gone off for some reason. So what do you do in your fire evacuation process? And when you do drills, how often do you do them? When do you do them? Do you keep a record of people who attend the drills? Do you keep a record of the actual drills? So the fire evacuation policy would look something like this: checking the area immediately for danger and the urgency, you know, and then assist the students to evacuate the building by the safest route to the assembly or to the muster point. Most fire alarms these days will automatically alert the local fire professionals, the fire department, but you would let other people know and get other people involved, particularly your head of boarding. You would have a student role, or you might have this on your phone or on some other device, and you take that out with the students and check to find out if anybody is missing. So it's very important that you have an up-to-date, either a hard copy or you have an up-to-date version on your phone or your iPad, so that you can make sure that you've checked all those students. and then you'd stay at the muster point until it's safe to return. Now, your fire evacuation process may look a little different to this, so if you can write down all the steps in your fire evacuation procedure. Question 3 asks you to detail the infection control processes you have in place at your residence. So typically they would include these sort of things: hand hygiene, vaccinations, asking students to stay back if they're sick, cleaning and disinfecting surfaces, respiratory hygiene, sneezing, social distancing, so avoiding close contact, and practicing safe food handling. And so you would probably have processes in place so that if a person was sick, if they had some sort of infection, then they could be isolated from other students. Question 14A.2, question 4, explain or demonstrate the correct lifting technique, including load limit, for safe manual handling. And you'll probably remember that we did this, and there are the correct load limits for the height of the load, the distance from your body, and whether you are male or female. And you probably remember a wide base of support, squat down, bend at the hip and knees only, keep good posture, slowly lift, straighten hips and knees, not your back, and hold the load as close to your body as possible. Use your feet to change directions, taking small steps. Lead with the hips and keep shoulders in line with the hips. Set the load down carefully, squat with the knees and hips only. So how are you going to do this? Now, if you're in a face-to-face class, you can just demonstrate this. If you can't video yourself doing it, then describe the process of how you lift something safely. Describe the process of correct lifting, the correct weight, the distance from your body, etc. The last part of this is to research smoke alarms for your state. So for example, in Western Australia, boarding houses are required to have smoke alarms and lighting systems installed as per the smoke alarm legislative requirements. Hardwired smoke alarms are required in all new construction since 1997. Battery-powered smoke alarms must have a non-replaceable, non-removable 10-year battery. So what you need to do is to Google the smoke alarm requirements for your state and write out those requirements for question 5. And that's the end of 14A.2. Thank you very much.